That's saying, my strength and my hope is perished from Jehovah. My strength and my hope is perished. That is the beginning of hope. That is the beginning of rescue. When we finally recognize I'm lost. I am dead in my sins. I am in deep trouble with God. My strength and my hope have perished from Jehovah. That's the problem in the churches today. You go into any church today and you say, do you still hope in God for your salvation? Oh, absolutely. He is our Savior. Do you believe that you are really following the Lord and your strength is in Him? Oh, we sure do. You know, we believe in the infallible Word of God. We believe in the inerrancy of Scriptures. We believe that God is really with us. Well, look at us. Look at how large our church has grown, or look at how many confessions of faith we had during this last month, and so on. And arrogantly and proudly, they keep going right down the end to Judgment Day. They don't realize at all that they are putting their trust not in the God of the Bible. Their trust is in their church. Their trust is in their heritage. Their trust is in their theologians. Their trust is anything but the whole Bible. Because if they were trusting the whole Bible, then they would understand that God is no longer using the churches to bring the gospel. But the moment that we come to that point as an individual, we will at that point we will begin to have there might be a change. Thou hast removed my soul from peace. I forgot good, and I said, my strength and my hope is perished from the Lord. If you notice down in verse 22, we'll jump ahead for a moment. It is of the Lord's mercies that we are not. Now he's transferred from I and the man who is the strong man. Now he's beginning to talk about people, because the church, the congregation, is made up of people, but everybody in that church is not necessarily someone that God is concerned about in relationship to salvation. But there is a tiny remnant. There is a tiny remnant. That's down in verse 22, and that's already beginning to surface. It's beginning to show up a little bit in the language here. In verse 18, my strength and my hope is perished from Jehovah. In other words, it's beginning to indicate that there are some people who have recognized the church is lost. The church is no longer God's house. The church is not safe anymore. And then as they study the Bible, they see that when you see the abomination of desolation in the holy place, then flee to the mountains, and let Judea flee to the mountains. And they begin to recognize, we have to get out. We have to get out, because we are in the wrong place. Or they read Revelation 18, verse 4, where it says we have to come out of Babylon. They are beginning to see that there's no hope. There is no trust that they should have in their churches. They have to trust only in God. But they recognize the sad thing. It's like the publican, remember, in Luke 18. I go back to him again and again. The publican who smote his breast. And he said, oh God, have mercy on me. I'm a sinner. Have mercy. In other words, he recognized He had nothing going for him, nothing at all. And his only trust was in God. And that is a very, very comforting place to be when we finally recognize our total wickedness, our total lack of hope, our total everything, that it's because I have sinned and I know I deserve the wrath of God. And then piteously we begin to pray for mercy, and we're going to see this in the verses as we go along, because it starts out in verse 18. I recognize my strength, my hope is perished from Jehovah, and remembering mine affliction and my misery, the wormwood and the gall. Finally, I'm getting honest. I'm looking back, and when it talks about remembering my affliction and my misery, really now, I thought that when I was in the church, I'm speaking in general now of anybody who finally is coming to truth, I thought this was the place. I thought this was where truth was. And yet, increasingly, I have felt empty. I have felt like I'm in trouble with God. And so I as I look back and on all of what the way it's been, I've had that uneasiness, the misery, my remembering my affliction and my misery. That indeed I'm learning now from the Bible that when I thought we were really on target, I found out that we were we had a do-it-yourself gospel program. We were trying to trust in our own work, and now I realize that I was really in a miserable situation. I was in a situation where I was going to do it. The church was going to do it for me, and together we're going to get right with God. And now I recognize that I'm completely bankrupt. The wormwood, the bitterness, and the gall. The word gall, incidentally, is a word that really means poison. In one place it's translated hemlock. Hemlock is a poisonous plant. And it is, in another place it's talking about the venom of a poisonous snake. It's the word gall is signifying poison. And you know, when you're being fed with a gospel that can never lead to life, but it's only leading to death. It's like drinking strychnine. It's like drinking cyanide. It's like drinking, being bitten by a poisonous viper. It is gall. It is, and that is what the churches have been doing. Boy, you know, we're again castigating the churches. It's like we have a vendetta against it, and that is absolutely not the case. You know, we could weep as we say these things, because we all have friends, we all have loved ones, most of us have been a part of a local congregation for many, many years, which we have dearly loved, and as we say these things, it's not being said out of vindictiveness or of anger against them. It's out of sadness, just total sadness. That's the way it has been. That is what we have come out with, and that's what is there. And we still have lots of friends there. We have lots of loved ones there, and the Lord hasn't opened their eyes, and oh my, it's a time of weeping. It's a time of gross sadness that we say these things. And but because we're teaching the Bible, we have to teach faithfully. We can't mince. We can't say it less than what the Bible is saying. And this language that about bitterness and poison, these are words that God has given. We're not selecting those words. God is giving those words, and that's how terrible it has been. But now notice the word remembering. Remember. We remember. And we look back and very objectively at what has been happening to our lives and to our what we have been taught in our churches. And as we review all of this, we are just brought down. We're in trouble. Oh, now what? Now what? But the first thing is that happens is, look at verse 20, my soul hath still in remembrance and is humbled in me. One of the surprising things, no, it's not surprising, it's the nature of man. Any of us by nature are this way. We're proud, we're egotistical. We think we can run our lives. We think we can solve our problems. That's the whole science world today. I read things in the scientific journals where, that in science we believe. In science they're going to cure this ill and cure that ill. Just give us enough time. We'll work it out. We already got a cure for polio a long time ago, and we got a cure for this, and even for AIDS, and for a lot of other things. And just give us enough time. We'll find a cure for everything ill in the world. The ego, the intense ego of man, that's what we are by nature. That's what we are. And we must not kid ourselves. That's why God again and again saying he resists the proud and he gives grace to the humble. And the moment we begin to walk egotistically and we begin to think that we can solve the problems, believe you me, we're headed for a fall, because this is what the Bible predicts. We must always come to God recognizing, not just paying lip service to this, but this should be an integral part of our personality. So it's just really, we're just really locked into this, where we come to the Lord. Oh Lord, I don't know anything. I don't trust me at all. I can only plead with you that you will work in me to will and to do of thy good pleasure, that you will give me wisdom, that you will give me understanding of the word, because I don't trust me at all. And because who am I? I got a peanut little mind that compared with the infinite mind of God, and this is just the way we humans are. But because we're created in the image of God, and there's some aspects of our life where we can think in terms of language that God uses, we think we're great. We think we can solve our problems. No way. Here it is. My soul that was stood still in remembrance and is humbled in me. And thus, this I recall to my mind, therefore have I hope. Therefore, that is the beginning of hope, is when we're completely broken before God. But when we recognize I have nothing going for me, nothing. It's nothing, like the song goes, nothing in my hand I bring, simply to the cross of Christ I cling. The fact that he became a curse for me, that he became a curse for those that he came to save, that's our only hope. And we're going to see the word hope in the next few verses, and we're going to find that hope and waiting are really, in fact, in the Hebrew language, the word hope, the Hebrew word that's used, hope, sometimes is translated hope, and sometimes it's translated waiting, because that's what hope is. It's waiting. I'm reminded that when we talk about waiting and hope, I'm reminded, for example, in the days of the sailing ships, and the husbands and the adult men of the family went off a sailing and left behind